call because there are people coming in. It's not 6:30. It being 6:30,
Call the meeting to order.
I call this meeting to order. We do not have to say the Pledge of Allegiance. What's the next thing we have to do? Public participation.
There's none.
We have to call the roll. The roll is
He's
you
got
and
the
me.
roll.
I've got the roll.
You did the roll? Okay.
So now you have to have.
Public participation. Are you here to participate, sir?
I'm observing.
Observing.
You need to identify a
as needed.
purpose, process, and
A payout.
payout for this meeting. What are we doing?
How come you wrote those things? That's what you wrote because of project planning?
Because that's a good way to conduct a meeting.
Well, you should do it.
Okay, so what's the purpose of this meeting? Project
Hello?
plan. That's what's on the agenda. Okay, so the purpose is to build a waterfront park, right? Or pretty much to develop from the Dollar General, from the Gross Brothers Dam up to the Wall Street Bridge. Am I right on that?
I think the purpose of this subcommittee is to decide what to do with the $50,000.
Okay, so we'll just, the $50,000 that was awarded by ARPA.
For the river path, which
Would-
goes far beyond
Right.
Wall Street, but this committee would
It's-
decide.
It is in phases, A, B, C,
Do
and
we
D.
know who's also here?
So we have Mary, Nathan Scott, we have Natalie, and we have, I don't know, it's a phone number, 469-647-0339.
That might be Delane.
And here comes Carl.
Oh, hi, Carl.
Hello.
So there's $50,000 in ARPA
Yes.
funds that have been appropriated, and there's another $50,000 in grants that have been applied for. So now, what are we gonna do with the $50,000 that are appropriated?
Well, they have identified 4 phases, A, B, C, and D. And $50,000 would cover one of those phases. Another $50,000, if we were to get it, would cover another phase.
Correct.
So, I believe the author of the grant proposal is with us.
Yes,
And he can tell us, did you specify
yes.
a phase?
Section D.
He specified section D
For the
And-
T-Mobile grant?
for the
Yes,
T-Mobile.
and the reason that Section D was specified is because it's town property and we didn't need permission. And we did not obtain permission for any of the segments yet, to my knowledge, at least the last I heard.
All right, that's the T-Mobile grant. So now
Yeah.
what we have to do is obtain permission for the next leg. That one's gonna be T-Mobile. We've got
Yes.
that one slated, so now.
Do we need Dollar General
Nope.
involvement on that? Okay.
Nope. Luckily, it's all within the town property, and so the setbacks are far enough that they don't. I mean, we can get it if we want it, but it's not necessary.
Let's make nice and get it.
Well, what we might need from
Of course,
Dollar
it-
General is an Act 250 permit
No.
renewal.
We don't if it's town property.
Okay.
That's the way I read that statement from Tim,
Yes.
that Tim.
Okay, so now that essentially means that when is the T-Mobile grant gonna be announced, awarded?
August.
So we have essentially 6 weeks, sometime in August, right?
Mhm. Probably nearer the end of August. Yeah.
So 6 weeks. So if that grant doesn't come in, what's the next step?
Or if that grant does come in, it doesn't matter because we have $50,000. So if that's for D, I would propose that we use the $50,000 ARPA money for A.
Just to clarify on the T-Mobile is we have exactly 1 year to utilize it or you give it back. So it's not in the construction on that's pretty easy. So I don't think that's an
Well, it'd
issue.
be ideal, you're gonna get more than $50,000 because you're gonna have the Cross Brother Dam removal. So
Right.
it's gonna change in 10 seconds. Cross Brothers Dam removal occurs, somebody with artistic talent should not the one.
Why
do that.
artistic talents?
Because you can trick it out extremely well. That $50,000, if when the Cross Brothers Dam project, which is going to go from the Cross Brothers Dam and go all the way up to the walking bridge, when that occurs, they're going to redo the whole riverbed. They're going to recover, get all rid of all the knot wheel. They're going to do all the stone removal. They're going to do the banks, everything. It's going to be, a 1/10 of a mile project where they're going to restore the appeal of the riverbed. So that project is by itself there. The equipment's going to be there, and I'm quite certain that some qualified negotiator would be able to go in there and say, while you're here, we would like the following thing done. Or we pay
Timber and stone.
To come up with a plan. We should probably pay Timber and Stone to come up with a plan for both areas that we're talking about, which I think they have in rough. And so we can say to the contractor, while you've got your equipment here, we want you at the end of this Cross Brothers Dam removal, we want it to look like this. Then Timber and Stone has something to work with, or whoever the contractor is, to go in there and finish the project. They may finish the project for us.
If we could ask them as soon as possible for that, we might be able to get on their agenda for next year. And then we would fit into, I obviously don't know if they have the capacity for that, but for
Whose agenda?
Timber and Stone.
Oh, so give them time to prepare.
Or get us on their calendar for next year. It might be full, but that was willing to do the bill.
One takeaway is we're going to ask last management to follow up time frame for Cross Brother Dam removal.
And then report that to Timber and Stone.
More than that, report it back to everybody.
Yeah,
They have a working relationship with
yeah,
Timber
they
and Stone.
should, they're there.
And Jeff is probably going to have to develop the relationship, and however he does that, whether he's going to work through you guys or if he's just going to take it on. I don't know what that is, but you've got to work a relationship. You can tell them, communicate this conversation just to give them a heads up, and then we'll follow up with a date and time.
We can do that because they might come back and say, we are booked out through the end of 2026. And then we would know that. So we could reach out to them now.
Yes.
Not making any promises or commitments, but just saying, would you have capacity to take something like this on?
So,
We being NCDN could,
right.
not
And then,
everyone here is part of NCDN.
As far as operationally go, if the T-Mobile grant doesn't come in, then the $50,000 in ARPA funds is going to be the only money available. Then we take that $50,000
Yes.
and do it. Right?
That's how I think about it. That's how I've been thinking about it.
With the same plan, but instead of using T-Mobile funds, we use the ARPA funds to accomplish item D, right?
Okay.
So it should be a pretty strong message to Timber and Stone that we're going to do that area.
Either way.
Right. In Dollar General, I think we all agree with that.
Yeah, the
Is
D section
Is there
stands for.
anything I'm missing on that?
No, I
Does-
think so.
Since this is a town project, do you have to put out bids for this project, or can we ask? I don't know about this area, so can you just approach a business like Timber and Stone and ask?
Yeah, technically you have to, but there's also proprietary information because we've already, we're working with NCDN. They've got a contractor already in the queue, and it would be unfair to any other bidder to try and move in on Timber and Stone because Timber and Stone already has institutional knowledge. They've already participated. So I'm making this up as I'm coming, as I'm going, okay? I'm making an argument to use Timber and Stone. because
Okay.
we in a way have a contract with them through through a third party.
Okay.
Does that make sense, Tom?
Mhm.
Is there,
Nodding is good.
there is a bidding process, and I think we can talk the board into negating that bidding process
Okay.
because of the history that's already existed.
Yeah, I think you pointed that out last night, at last night's meeting, when you pointed out what was happening with the generator. That implication was very clear to me.
Yeah, well, that was, we're not, that's not on the agenda.
No, but I'm saying that I connect that. I understand. I think you've already
There's a way,
softened
there's a
it.
way to avoid the purchasing process, but it has to be transparent. And what we didn't do a very good job recently.
Okay.
Okay, so now, the second question is, let's say that we do get the T-Mobile grant. That takes care of the D phase. What's the next phase?
A, I think.
A?
Now, A is the piece that starts at the parking lot of the senior center and loops around the back of the senior center. It's described nicely here in the A section.
And
Do
goes
you have
to
this?
The walking
Do you
path.
have,
Yeah.
yeah. It starts and then you go around behind the senior center on the shoulder of the slope, it's called. And you go behind the gazebo and you go through a little gate and there's the asphalt that takes you up to the crossing we're never supposed to use.
So that's and that's property owned by Vermont State Housing.
Yes.
Yes.
Vermont State Housing, are they on board with this?
No, so I'm the rep from NCDN who made the contact with the powers that be there and made them aware that this is something being discussed, made them aware that it's at least NCDN's intention that they would be included in these conversations. And they said they have monthly meetings with their residents, open to their residents, and they would welcome a conversation with the residents.
Who wants to have that conversation?
I'll go with her.
Well, I don't know how that stuff works either. Like, I don't know how towns are supposed to ask permission from people. I don't know rules about that. So I would like to be there, and I think
You would be a good face
Anyone.
for that to be there, and so, because we're gonna be going, this path potentially is gonna, people are gonna see it out the windows that overlook the river.
the woman I spoke to, who seems to be in charge, her primary concern was youth vandalizing the fence that they already have. And she's like, and then if this opens up the backyard, the concerns that we all assumed would be there, she expressed. So we should be prepared for that and understanding of that.
I thought that this was that this was town property too on A.
My understanding is there is shared town property in section B, which is the senior living property from the footpath and footbridge around the river and then town property to the railroad. My understanding is that's shared. Section B might be an easier place to
Maybe
start.
it is.
Because it's not outside someone's window.
Well,
And I shared with her, I mean, I lived on Vine Street, for example, where the sidewalk is 4 feet from my window. I got used to having people walking right by the window. I know what that's like. But I
It's a
moved into
change.
that house with the sidewalk there. This is new. Yeah.
Okay, so the second thing to do then is pursuing item A is to get sign-in by the Vermont State Housing Authority, which includes participating in a resident meeting,
Residents meeting, yeah.
and then a proposal to Vermont State Housing, right? Is there anything else we should be considering? Resident meeting and then a proposal to Vermont State Housing as a flow path. If either one of those have a hiccup in it, or it looks like it's going to be beyond the time for ARPA funds or the appropriation of ARPA funds, because we all know things go slower than death, then we would then, if there's any pushback or if it gets to be too burdensome for the discussion gets to be too long, then we can flip to section B.
The advantage of having it section A is that it makes a loop, almost from the common, almost to the common.
We're going to pursue section A
Yeah.
as for the ARPA funds, but on your
And then
recommendation.
And it
So,
connects nicely with river, common to the river park. What do they call that thing?
Oh, the dog river?
Yeah, yeah.
Does it connect
The common
to-
path or something, they call it, from the common to the Dog River Park.
The one that's.
I don't know what they-
the
The
scoping study
Vorak
being
is-
done.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just,
With
we're
the
just
change
calling it
of sidewalk?
the new pedestrian walkway.
And there's a-
Yeah.
we just set aside matching funds of 6 digits to capture a grant of $600,000.
Yeah.
To improve the walk on Water Street to the park.
Yeah,
So this could be blended right into that.
Yeah.
But we don't know if Vermont State Housing is gonna do that. That's a separate.
yeah,
project.
that's the advantage of Vermont
So
State
for the
Housing.
purpose of this meeting, item A is get participate in the resident meeting and get Vermont State Housing Authority
Yep,
to sign on that this is gonna be, that they approve of it, and they just need to do the paperwork. Or if there's pushback, then we go into section B.
Yeah.
And work with the Vermont State Housing again, because they own the property there, right?
With the town.
With
The
the town,
town shares that section.
right?
is my understanding.
So if item A, if Vermont State Housing Authority or the residents push back, because change is hard when it comes to people that are of my age, the Vermont State Housing Authority has an option to participate in area B, which is the section that is further north of, or upriver, downriver from the pedestrian bridge,
To the
Mhm.
railroad.
right? To the railroad. So then that would be the fallback for that $50,000 of ARPA funds.
mhm.
If we can't convince them, or if there's pushback on the first leg. My sense is once people see what's going on, they're gonna want more, because I think it's gonna be pretty cool. So, and, you know, it could be in stages, and people may say after the first stage, we gotta do this all the way up to Roxbury, so who knows what's gonna happen.
I have a thought about that comment, if I may. And I don't know what $600,000 you're referring to for improvements there.
That's for
Is
the,
that right?
that's the construction of the new pedestrian walkway that starts at the common and goes all the way down Wall and then underwater and stops at Dog River
Okay,
Park.
so unrelated to the sidewalk improvements that.
Yeah,
Totally
unrelated.
unrelated to
Okay,
those,
okay.
yeah.
Addition.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
because as it sits right now, a thought that I have to that point, make it so obvious to people that it gets used and they recognize the value and then they want to buy into the rest of it.
Mhm.
Is that area behind the senior center visible enough for that? Or would it be visible enough to get buy-in from people to start? And I'm not saying that it's not, I'm just saying it out loud.
Well, the start of it is visible.
Okay, and especially if it's connecting to something that is not there right now, but is in the works
Yep.
to be there. So this would connect to,
You would see the whole
That
thing from
path.
Water Street.
And you have-
You're going
and you
down
also-
Water
Oh, that's
Street and
true.
You're going over the bridge. you
That's
would see
true.
it, yeah.
okay,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, in the waterfront, I think the banks of the river are gonna be completely changed. I get the sense that they're gonna do something fabulous. But I haven't seen any picture yet, man, but they, you know, it could be as simple as just pulling all the fill that has been in there, has been put in there and turn it to a natural bank. But it's gonna be cool. So, I think that, so from my aspect, since we're having just a general conversation and this is Charlie Morris, not a select board member, I think you'll get more buy-in if you go, do the section D, that's gonna be a big one. And then do, section B. C is almost out of the question because of the railroad. That's gonna be one of those things.
did you mean section A, which starts,
Section A starts at the senior center.
Yep.
And that, you're gonna have to get buy-in from them because people are gonna park in their parking lot. And people are going to use access to the Vermont State Housing Authority property to do the walk. I think if you start from the section C goes to the railroad tracks. What section is between the
Section
railroad?
C is behind Depot Square, everything behind Depot Square. Section A is
Up to the
Wall
walking bridge.
Street to the walking bridge, and
Right.
section B is walking bridge to the railroad.
So I think walking bridge to the railroad, we get a lot of buy-in, more buy-in than section 8, but I don't know that. But I think that we should be prepared to, and I think we can. I think, just be prepared to flip it. You come off the walking bridge to develop it. You come off the walking bridge, you have a chance to walk along the waterfront, walk up the tracks, cross over. And is that going to be more attractive than coming off the pedestrian bridge and walking up the waterfront in front of people's houses? I don't know. But
To a newly developed pedestrian path, though, right? Do you know more about that pedestrian path?
No,
What that's
I
gonna
gotta
look
know
like?
more.
I don't even know which side of Wall Street it's on, I don't.
Okay.
But what about landscaping and so forth to keep people from, screen people from their bedroom windows and so on, but they're worried about vandalism.
Well, and just inviting, that was the sense.
They had vandalism and dealt with it. Yeah, I haven't seen anything.
Moss.
Yeah, I mean, it's about it.
So maybe it's
You can have
just
vandalism.
scarred from the
I think
experience.
it's just
but-
somebody
Yeah.
just thinking about what happened a long time ago.
Okay,
If you're gonna build
Reason
something,
why.
you just have to build in the mentality that it could be vandalized, and don't let that hang out.
Yeah.
So, we have to convey that to the state housing folks, because if someone reads the minutes on this meeting, they're gonna say, I don't want that, I'm just gonna go out and spray paint no on the sign. And there you go. See, there's vandalism just by talking about it. I'm so not, it doesn't trigger anything for me.
I have one other thought. You go this meeting with the state housing authority, with the residents. I think you should go, because you go there all the time, and they see you all the time doing the Meals on Wheels.
Yeah, but I don't
You have-
deliver it to any, I'll be happy. to
But you have a
represent
lot
the
of they see you. Believe me, nothing gets unnoticed in this town. They know you're
Fall
going
back to
there,
Section C, all right, or Section B.
or Section A, any of the
Section
sections.
A, we're going to go with Section A first, have a resident meeting.
Yeah,
We're gonna
And I'd love for you to be there.
Contact Vermont State, thank you. If it's A season, forget about it. Then we're gonna go to, fallback is Section B. Right? That is
You
the,
like this?
I like it.
that is the purpose, that's the process, and our payoff is gonna be, the community's gonna go, wow.
Oh, they're gonna love us.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
Can't help but
love
do
it,
Section
CDF.
B.
Well, I have to
Their
tell you,
project.
I did talk to the people I worked with on the restorative panel tonight.
Mhm.
And I told them that we were going, oh, this is so great, they said.
Yeah.
And
Oh, good.
they really said, you're gonna get people out enjoying the area, it's not gonna.
You've never developed the waterfront in Northfield. It is amazing to me.
The whole town turns its back on the river.
Right, well, it used to be the sewer.
There's reasons for it.
Right, so,
We're missing
when I
the
was a kid,
opportunity.
until 1970, when the sewer plant got in, swimming, that's where the reason my father built Memorial Park, is so there's a place to swim, because you couldn't swim in the river. The brown trouts were real. All right, so we got our marching orders, right? We got purpose, we got process, and our payoff is there. Got anything else? This is good.
She has something else.
Yeah, I do. I had, I'm sorry, my brain is moving slower than I would.
Well, you've been working all day.
Yep, you brought something up that raised a question in my head and I already forgot it. So I'll move to something else. We have been talking to Jeff McMahon regarding Act 250. Who's going to be the point of contact for the state in general for wetland purposes, or for Act 250 if we need to do permit renewals?
We don't have to do permit renewals. Remember, we got that it was in our packet this week.
I feel like we were told by the gentleman at the state that there is in existence an Act 250 permit by the senior housing apartments.
Ah,
And those are generally handled and applied for by the landowners and or the town, or landowners with the town. That's
So-
my understanding.
So you're talking Vermont State Housing. Right?
they're the landowner.
Yeah,
So we're not the senior center and Vermont State Housing. So senior housing, you are calling Vermont.
sorry, Vermont State
State
Housing
Housing
Authority's property apartments. Yep.
So that will be part of the discussion when we discuss item A with them.
That's at a residents meeting, not with the management though?
No, it'll be,
Is that-
the residents meeting is take a pulse of the folks that live
Yeah,
there.
right.
But there'll be
Then
somebody
we'll
from
have to
housing
have a
authority, isn't
Vermont-
those
then we'll have
meetings?
to invite
Right.
Vermont State Housing here
Right.
and do a dog and pony show of, this is what the residents feel, this is what we're now faced with, we've got, and by then we'll know Act 250 and all the rest of that stuff. If they poo-poo that idea, or if they say we don't want to participate in Act 250, which would be really a shame, because if it is a state entity doing it, it's not like if Charlie Morse was doing it. It goes a lot smoother.
Yeah.
So we'll just have to have that. We'll find out that answer when we meet with them.
Okay. NCDN as a group, I think, has gone as far as we can go with respect to Act 250. So I just wanted to make sure that's
That's fine.
Your head
noted. I also, maybe because this is a public record now, I feel like I want to say, in reflection of the previous select board meetings, to make it clear, this is not an NCDN idea, an NCDN project that we've come up with, although I'd love to take credit for it. This is in every plan, and we just recognize the funding source and an opportunity to make something that's been in so many, the Ridge and River, it's town plan, regional plan, VDAT study, it's everywhere. We recognize that people have been talking about this and wanting it for a long time. This is just an opportunity to make it happen.
And we thank you for that.
I
we
don't
thank
know
you
whether
for
that
doing
was
that.
clear, so I wanted.
Yeah.
No, I think it's important to make sure that's, that, are you recording this?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, make sure that that's in the minutes verbatim, and see exactly what's happening, because there's, some folks think that have different thoughts of, how things work. And we clear the air on that. And it is
Thank you
pretty
for
cool that
beating
do
the
that.
drum on that, because it's been there for 20 years.
This select board just figured out we have to make things handicap accessible at the library in different areas. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're growing.
Can I,
Speaking of, yeah,
can I raise a question? And if it's not a good question, then we can pretend I didn't raise it. What are we going to do eventually about the railroad crossing? Not the one ultimately that is next to the river, but the one by.
We've kicked that can down the road, Carl.
Okay.
Well, I'm always an optimist. So Tom's trying to get the railroad here and stop in Northfield. He's not going to, because of the emergency services, they're not going to park the train blocking the road. So they have to move the train stop probably south alongside that stretch of buildings, whether that happens or not. But, and that's going to be years down the road. When this whole thing happens, and there is a consensus that this is a trick idea, this changes the footprint of Northfield. It's a nice place to walk for lunch if you're a business person, and you get the buy-in. The people will tell us what to do. with that. I mean, whether they would support a jack and bore, which would allow you to walk underneath the railroad tracks, who knows what they're going to do. But if the buy-in is big enough, it's going to happen. I don't think the railroad will consider anything legally or participate in anything other than the crossing on the road. The one at Fernandez is going to be they just don't do it, because when they do it, it has to be done by a code, and the code is very expensive, and you've got to be able to get lights, you've got bells, you've got
Gates.
gates.
That's what I've seen, different
Right.
examples of how railroads have done it. Yeah. We
So
looked into that, but-
this sidewalk project, I think, if we get the grant for that, is probably going to include a railroad crossing.
It does include a road crossing. We met with the railroad, and it also includes, it looks like they were going to have to move the gates on Wall Street a little bit, put in new gates. So
there's no stupid question.
I think the way the railroad looked at it, from what I heard from the representative, was they look at the Wall Street crossing that's being improved as the official crossing, and they just sort of don't pay attention to the other one.
The other way.
Right, right.
Is the one on Wall Street going to be safely passable by strollers?
Yes,
and
it's
wheelchairs?
gonna be fully ADA accessible. Yeah, yeah. That's one of the reasons why why it costs so much, is because that's a big part of it, and the railroad doesn't pay for anything.
Okay.
So, yeah, but
What if the, oh no, that won't work.
I learned through this process that the Fernandez crossing is not a legal crossing. I
Yeah.
never knew, and I've used it forever. So,
There is a sign by it that says this is not.
so
a
I've
railroad crossing.
ignored the sign forever.
Yes.
I
Yes.
assume I'm not the only one.
it's been ignored for 100 years,
Right?
yeah,
So
or more.
Does it help with the railroad to have like like if we educate, not we, if the town educated people on the fact that it's not legal, would they be as shocked as we all are and wonder why not? And
You got to remember that people go to Fernandez, tell them I need a sheet of plywood. They walk across the railroad to their storage facility out there and get a sheet of plywood.
Yeah.
The Fernandez.
They're using that all the time,
The
because
others,
their
yes.
major storage area are those two derelict buildings out in the.
but can they not use it that way if it becomes?
Well, they can drive around, and because you can access it by the police station to go over to that.
Sure, but if they want to continue to use it the way they've always used it, which makes sense, they need to get stuff right there.
Right.
Could they keep doing that if it just becomes a safe legal crossing? Like what would change?
It's not going to be a safe legal crossing. That message has been received loud and clear.
Okay,
It's going to be let's come up with this group should come up right now with a term for that crossing next to Fernandez. Bandito crossing,
Right.
outlaw crossing.
Unrecognized.
No.
so with the
That's
with
too
the
hard to say.
railroad
Outlaw
air-
crossing is a good one.
With the railroad air on the other, would they swing the other way and block off that crossing?
They could. They could.
Okay, so
They could.
Okay.
We were
We
we were advised, and not on the record, I'm telling you publicly, but they would not put it on the record that we just want to pretend it's not even there. And
Okay.
we're here to talk about Wall Street, and I never saw that kind of
So-
feeling.
It's just pie in the sky in here. Could this river path loop over to the Wall Street and then go through the common and then
Yeah.
join up with D?
that was
That's
part of
ideal.
the
You're only
proposal.
talking about 50 yards.
Yeah,
You just improve from the footpath to the
Yep.
bridge.
Right
just
by a new
straight-
restaurant.
Straight over to the new sidewalk and crossing.
and there's,
It'll
you
cost
could
less.
put a fence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was on a walk in Burlington, and it goes by the railroad, and they have a fence, which I think the railroad has to put up. Because
Let's try and not promote fencing. I think we're living pretty good as it is. We don't want them to start putting up fences, because then fences are gonna get vandalized. If you put a fence
Yeah,
up
that
at
one
the
will.
Fernandes crossing, you are going to see vandalism like you have never seen.
That'll be the voice of the people speaking out about that
And
crossing.
Fernandez has all the tools with which to do the vandalizing, and they might be there.
And the
Yeah.
talent,
Yeah, and the talent. right.
and they've got the keys. All right, this is
If you
fun.
pro- if you
Is
provide
there
a
anything else we
nice
got?
alternative.
Do you, anyone online? We can't see you, so that's why I'm pointing, but you can see them.
Okay, here comes a chat. Thank you, everyone. These are very exciting ideas. That's from Anderson.
Oh, Dan.
No one else has left us a chat or raised their hand.
Okay.
since
Does
we
anyone
started.
know when VOREC grant deadlines are? As far as we could see, we didn't see a timeline for VOREC grants, and maybe that's, I'd be jumping the gun on that.
I don't think
conversation.
they've released the application yet, but I can find out.
Okay.
I'll look for you.
Do you have access to a subscription that the library board might have of grant opportunities?
I think I have a subscription to Grant Watch, which is the comprehensive one. Yes.
Okay. We should just be keeping an eye.
And
out.
yeah, and I get weekly emails, and it includes USDA, state, and private foundations, which we should always look at.
So I don't have to send them any more to you?
No, you don't. But I like it when you send them, Charlie. I appreciate it. But so I'm constantly looking to see, if there's ones that could fit here or fit there. But the whole decision on whether Vorex going for the money or this going to the Riverwalk, or are you both going to try? I mean, we have to navigate that each time. Last time we did a Vorex grant that I was involved in, the school also did a grant trying to get money to repair those trails that were up there. Neither party got a grant, but one of the reasons was that we'd gotten $122,000 for the town forest, so that we weren't exactly at the top of the list to get more money at that time for any project in town. So,
That's helpful.
yeah. I think the the one thing that I emphasize the most, and the reason that I think segment D is valuable to go with, is the argument that this would become inside the town, the very first ADA accessible access to the water, And so I really played that up hard, because as Charlie pointed out, this town doesn't have many accesses to the water. And so.
One member of the select board has said that ADA access does not mean that it's universally accessible, because ADA, apparently some things like you covering surfaces, the surfaces are too rough for rolling.
Well, we don't run into that here because we're not in the floodplain like we are over Duggar Park, where we ran into that with the Wall Street and Water Street project. We wanted to put a non-permeable surface so it could be fully accessible, to your point, rolling access. But FEMA's like, never going to happen, which is why we're going along the main road. Here we have the town property, and there's this isn't a FEMA buyout, so we can put any surface down we want that would hit that rolling access.
I
So
should
it can't be
share.
universally accessible.
Right.
To your point, Nancy.
Yeah, what?
Go ahead.
I'm just looking here at what's there. Some non-woven fabric, and crushed stone is not necessarily good for rolling.
Right. I think I always look at those specs, Mary, as okay, this gives us the price range and everything, but then we modify accordingly.
Yeah.
I think my personal opinion, and I think everybody probably agrees, is we want to do everything we can to make sure that is fully accessible to the water.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
That's something the accessibility and walkability
Right.
committee is definitely
right.
looking at.
Yep.
For this, because I think the town is supporting.
Well, it's another attraction too for visitors to town, along with coming into the common and going other places. They can get to the river finally. We've got that.
And they
little
can bring
beach
their
on there.
strollers and things like that.
Right.
It's not, this, universal means universal.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Very much.
that's one of the selling points that we can give to the ladies and gentlemen at the
Yeah.
senior housing,
Mhm.
is that this will enable you for the first time to have access to the river.
Mhm.
It's an easy sell. I think it'll work.
I can't promise you that. I have had meetings over there and it's a pretty conservative bunch. They really are. I want it to be a different way, but
Change, as I said earlier,
it's hard for them.
change is hard for,
When you do have that meeting, I'm sure there'll be a representative from the housing authority there and, but I also think talking about damage or vandalism is another code word for not feeling safe. And so it might be good to bring the chief to talk about,
That's right. It's a good idea.
and he's really good at getting people to understand how the way he's doing his work in the town. I find to be very impressive how he's.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a really good idea.
And Pierre is very interesting.
He's great. He's great too.
Yeah,
He's
he's very
wonderful with
helping
people.
So, and we can talk about screening, landscaping for screening and so on.
I had one other thought about the vandalism. If the town makes a strong commitment to clean up any vandalism right away, that's a way of
Mhm.
discouraging further, because the one leads to more unless you clean it up right away. So
There is
maintenance
a
is
novel,
important.
a novel response to graffiti in certain areas where they encourage it or they don't get rid of it, so that it becomes an attraction in and of itself.
But I don't think the senior center, senior housing is going to be the place to.
you
to
don't
have a
think they
graffiti
subscribe to
park.
that philosophy?
No,
I think somewhere else,
yeah.
a skateboard park with a graffiti park,
Mhm.
something to think about for the future.
Anything else?
Well, as part of the legwork that NCDN has done, we've told you many times that we've met many times with folks from the state and also this woman who does wetland assessments. And I brought a copy of her, basically she prepared a memo for us, which includes a picture, which in black and white is very hard to see the bright, oh, Carl, thank you, bright red wetland area and the dotted line proposed path that is right alongside, not in the bright line wetland area. So apologies to the folks on the video, but,
There it is, very
Somebody hold it up.
I've
obvious.
seen that before.
The camera at some
And
point.
we're skirting right along there.
I
That's
have
nice.
extra black and white copies for those
That
who
means when
want
you
it,
walk
but-
along here, your chances of seeing a critter are you're gonna see foxes and things like that, and maybe river otters if they clean up this river.
I've seen Herman and stuff down there,
Yeah.
weasels and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've never seen
Weasels.
fox,
Herman,
but
it's
weasels.
a
Weasel
fly
and
line.
Herman, same thing.
Yeah, they're all the
It's
same.
just different color.
Long too.
Yeah.
Different time of year. That's all.
You can go feed the ducks too.
Oh, yeah, you see ducks. And we have seen black ducks there, right?
Oh, yeah.
Tim and I do the Christmas bird count along. there.
Oh, yeah.
I tag along with Carl. I am very much an amateur.
So,
But I think that Carl, someone might do bird walks along
Yeah.
that new path by the river.
Yeah, yeah.
That along the river is where we saw the bald eagle last December.
so what if instead of going over the outlaw crossing, it just goes along here and then along here like this? It's already going like this and like this and
You
like
gotta
this.
cross the tracks over here.
on
Yeah, but
Wall
that's the
Street.
Wall Street. That's the
Yeah.
Wall Street place.
Mary, I think you're thinking the same thing I am. It's almost like it's a B prime. Right here.
Right, yeah.
Who owns the property? So Fernandez owns along the railroad up to the path that we don't, crossing,
Outlaw crossing?
the outlaw crossing.
Yep.
Who owns from that crossing past to Wall Street?
Northfield Village
There's-
Development,
There's a
The
substantial,
new,
the new developers who put
Okay.
the apartments and
Oh, and the
the
whole
restaurant. Going in. Yeah,
there's one
Yeah.
owner, okay, great.
thank you.
and then on the other side
On
of the
the
tracks.
common
there's
side of the tracks.
There's a pretty good right of way that is.
On the common side of the tracks, yes,
And then it
yes.
comes into town property, where the police department.
Thank
Oh,
you.
okay.
Thank
Okay.
you.
And so actually running along that side by the police department all the way over to the pedestrian sidewalk, pedestrian
Walkway.
walkway, and then crossing the legal, not the outlaw, the legal crossing and coming around by the common, et cetera, and would take you all the way over to view it would be a pleasant walk.
It would also be wonderful to have another beacon crossing right there
Yes,
when you come down before you cross the Dollar General, because a
Right.
lot of people cross there, and that's, as you know, people fly through there. So another opportunity to calm that traffic through there would be very valuable.
would be
Good
very
idea.
valuable.
Right.
Yeah, and if we have,
Yes,
It
exactly. The
should
new
be
bridge,
built into
right,
that design.
right.
and those are town streets that the state can not tell us.
Well, Main Street is a state highway.
Fiddle-dee-dee.
Main
So we-
Street is,
It's Route 12. Yeah.
How are we
It's
gonna
a-
get a crossing there
it's
then?
class 1 in this town of Northfield. They do not pave it.
Yeah, right. Because it stops up there. They'd be fine with it, Mary.
Could we
Yeah.
put bumps, speed bumps?
I defer to Charlie. I don't
We
know.
don't, we need to pull the speed bumps out that we already have, as far as I'm concerned.
Why are you
Sorry to
saying that?
disagree. Because they bounce my truck all to bejesus.
So drive slow.
Don't have a truck that goes slow.
Then
I've got things to do and
you know
people
what
to-
this is? The
time
world's
is-
smallest violation.
Accessible vans cannot go over those
Right.
speed bumps either.
Okay, that I understand.
Oh, but not my truck,
No,
right.
you have a choice about what kind of vehicle to drive.
I
She does, the
make a motion
accessible
to
road.
adjourn the meeting.
I would like to just say that instead of thinking about speed bumps, I think that having bulb outs at that crossing
Bump outs.
to shorten the distance across and also prevent the visual quote unquote barrier that those bulb outs do.
Yeah.
I think is the first thing to try.
That's better than your
Okay,
gate.
this is about, we're not gonna redesign the common right now. We're designing we're deciding on which section we're gonna spend money on.
That's in the
for
D
Riverfront.
section though, what he's talking about is in the D
That's where
section.
the path crosses the
It's where the path crosses Route 12.
Route 12 Main Street.
The path crosses to get to the section D. The entrance to that is on the east side of the bridge. Correct? Right.
Section D? No, section D starts on the. If you.
Crossing would be on the north side of the Main Street Bridge.
Yeah,
The west side of the bridge.
it starts on
Yes,
the west side.
right.
And goes over Route 12 and continues behind Dollar General.
Right.
And the Main
Missing
Street,
that.
the Main Street
Who's
Bridge
got- Give
reconstruction
me a picture.
is going to
Section
include that
D.
whole.
Yeah.
Right,
section.
exactly.
I can't
Right,
find
right.
it. Here's D, so you gotta go
Yeah.
back.
I think
Perfect
it's
sense
a
to have
semantic
that.
issue.
Yeah.
there.
D.
Yeah.
See it, and here it is.
Yeah,
That's right
yeah.
here
And bulb outs.
on the west
Yeah,
side
I
of
think
this bridge.
We definitely will
Those
hear
cars.
from that state whether or not they're going to be okay with bulb outs. They may be fine. But as we get our designated downtown, there's funding available for traffic calming, so we could even get more money. So that would be helpful.
Slowing down the traffic as it goes through the center of town.
Well,
Definitely.
I agree.
Right.
I agree.
So whether you say it
Very
starts
important.
here or starts here,
Okay, so for the purpose of simplicity, I'm just going to toss this out. The area west of Main Street, which encompasses the, whatever the name of that restaurant is, the parking lot here.
Yes,
uh,
Cafe.
DS Cafe, this, somewhere in here is section C, right?
Section
C,
C is
yes.
behind that whole part.
This section C would run along through here if we figure out how to do it.
Okay, so we're not doing section C.
No.
So we could very easily have this cross here, and people can, without having to put another crosswalk down there. You can cross Main Street in existing conditions, take the sidewalk up there, and then come enter here.
Over the bridge.
Wasn't there a crosswalk right there already?
Yes.
There's a crosswalk there,
It's
but it's, right,
Yeah,
it's painted. It doesn't have bulb.
So.
I would also-
Either way here.
Right.
What I'm saying, yeah.
There's going to be a 25-unit apartment complex there, so there's probably going to be more need for some traffic calming of some type once that's,
And-
yeah, whether it's a,
Where's the
something
Right.
25-unit apartment complex going?
right beside the Dollar General,
Where the pillows.
where the pillars are, correct,
Oh.
yes. yes.
Northfield's.
Yeah, Northfield Stonehenge.
That's good. We've had a good meeting. We are adjourned at time, whatever it is.
7:21.
7:21. Less than an hour.
Good meeting,
Yeah.
Madam Chair.
Well.